The classroom buzzed with chatter as students packed their bags, eager for the weekend. Alex, a 15-year-old with restless eyes and a mischievous grin, leaned casually against his desk. His friends surrounded him, bragging about their weekend plans. "I'm going to Miami with my cousins. It's going to be epic," said one. "My dad's taking me to the new amusement park," boasted another. Alex hated feeling left out. He never had exciting stories to tell. His father worked long hours as a driver, and his mother ran a small tailoring shop. Weekends at home were usually quiet, just chores, homework, and sometimes playing basketball in the driveway. But today, when his friend Ben asked, "What about you, Alex? What are you doing this weekend?" he blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "I'm visiting my grandma," he said confidently, puffing up his chest. "Oh wow. That sounds nice," Ben replied. "Where does she live?" Alex hesitated for a moment, then made it up. "She lives in the old town, near the big church. I go there every weekend. She cooks the best mac and cheese in the world." The boys looked impressed. Alex felt a rush of pride. He wasn't just the boy with nothing special going on. Now he had a story too, one that made him seem loved, cared for, special. But the truth was different. His grandmother, Elena, did live in the old town. She had raised Alex when his parents were too busy, feeding him warm cookies, telling him stories of courage, and teaching him how to read before bed. But over the last year, visits had grown fewer and fewer. His parents were struggling with bills, and weekends became about extra work, not family visits. Alex hadn't seen his grandma in months. Yet here he was, using her as a cover story to impress his friends. As he walked home that day, his lie weighed on him only slightly. "It's harmless," he told himself. "Everyone lies a little. And besides, I'll visit her someday soon." But the city had a way of swallowing promises. Weeks turned into months. The lie grew bigger. Every Monday at school, Alex had another story about his grandma's cooking, her funny jokes, or the wise things she said. His friends listened with wide eyes, admiring his bond with her. At home, however, life was far from those rosy tales. His father returned late, exhausted, often falling asleep before dinner. His mother's hands were always sore from stitching clothes. Sometimes, Alex overheard them whispering about unpaid bills, about the landlord's threats, about sacrifices they couldn't afford. One night, Alex heard his mother say softly, "We should visit Grandma, she must be so lonely. But how can we spare the bus fare this month?" His father sighed. "Maybe next month." Alex turned away, guilt prickling his chest. He could have reminded them, insisted they go. But instead, he stayed silent. It was easier to enjoy the fantasy he had built at school than to face the truth, that his grandmother was waiting, and he hadn't shown up. He didn't know that fate was already weaving a painful lesson for him. Because sometimes, lies don't just fade. Sometimes, they circle back with consequences so heavy, they change a life forever. The old town was not what it used to be. Once vibrant with laughter, colorful shops, and the aroma of fresh bread from small bakeries, it had slowly withered under the weight of poverty. The paint peeled off the buildings, the narrow alleys were littered with trash, and the smiles of its people had grown faint. In a small crumbling house at the edge of the neighborhood lived Elena, Alex's grandmother. She had once been the pillar of her family, a woman with sharp wit, warm hands, and a heart large enough to feed anyone who knocked on her door. But now, time had worn her down. Her hair, once jet black, was now thin and white. Her legs trembled when she walked, and her eyesight blurred the faces of those around her. Every Friday evening, she would sit by the wooden door of her house, waiting. Waiting for the knock she longed to hear. Waiting for her son, her daughter-in-law, and especially Alex. Her neighbors often asked, "Elena, who are you waiting for?" She would smile weakly. "My grandson promised to come. He loves my mac and cheese." But the door remained unopened. The footsteps never arrived. Inside her small kitchen, the shelves were almost bare. She survived mostly on tea, leftover bread from the bakery next door, and the charity of kind neighbors who sometimes brought her food. Pride stopped her from asking for help. She told herself, "They will come. My family will come. I just have to wait a little longer." Days turned into weeks. Her little savings, coins she kept hidden in a clay jar, began to disappear. She used them sparingly, to buy rice, lentils, or a few vegetables. She stretched each dollar as far as she could. At night, she sat on her thin mattress, whispering prayers for her family. "Please, God," she murmured, "keep them safe. Keep my Alex on the right path. Don't let him forget me." But deep down, she felt the sting of abandonment. Her heart ached each time she remembered the sparkle in Alex's eyes when he was younger. He used to sit at her feet, listening to her stories, begging her for one more tale before bedtime. She had believed, with all her heart, that he would never drift away. Meanwhile, Alex's life moved on. His lies grew bolder, his stories richer. He told his classmates about Grandma's new puppy, about the special pie she made just for him. His friends admired him more and more. But sometimes, when the classroom grew quiet, he felt an emptiness claw at him. The image of his grandmother's wrinkled hands would flicker in his mind. He pushed it away quickly, drowning it under laughter and bravado. Then one afternoon, fate delivered the first crack in Alex's fantasy. He was walking home when he overheard two women from the old town talking at a fruit stall. "Poor Grandma Elena," one said, shaking her head. "She's getting weaker every day. I saw her sitting outside the church, asking if anyone had seen her grandson. She says he always visits her, but," the woman sighed, "I don't think he comes at all." Alex froze. His heart thudded painfully. They were talking about his grandmother. For a moment, shame burned his face. But then pride, stubborn and blinding, pushed it away. "It's not my fault," he told himself. "My parents should have taken me. Besides, it's just gossip. She's fine. She has neighbors. She'll be okay." He walked away quickly, convincing himself it didn't matter. But destiny wasn't done with him yet. His lie was about to collide with a truth so raw, it would strip him of every excuse he had ever made. The weekend came, and once again, Alex's friends gathered in the schoolyard, swapping stories. Ben, his closest friend, nudged him playfully. "So, Alex, tell us. What did your grandma cook this time? More of that famous mac and cheese?" Alex smirked, enjoying the attention. "Not mac and cheese this time. She made chocolate chip cookies, the softest, warmest cookies you've ever tasted. She even put walnuts in them." The boys let out impressed sighs. One of them even said, "Man, I wish I had a grandma like yours." Alex laughed, but deep down, the words pierced him. If only they knew the truth, that he hadn't even set foot in her neighborhood for months. That he didn't even know what she had eaten last night, or if she had eaten at all. Later that day, Alex was walking home when Ben caught up with him. "Hey, Alex. My dad's shop is near the old town church. Want to come along? You can introduce me to your grandma." The color drained from Alex's face. His lie, the one that had grown bigger and bigger, was now cornering him. She's not home today," Alex stammered. "She went to visit a cousin." "Oh, that's okay," Ben said cheerfully. "Maybe next time." Alex forced a smile, but his heart raced. Each passing day, the web of lies grew tighter, threatening to choke him. That evening, his parents had a heated conversation in the small living room. His father looked weary, his hands rough from long hours of driving. "She's old," his mother said softly. "We can't keep delaying. Grandma needs us." His father sighed. "I know. But I barely earn enough to cover rent and groceries. The bus fare, the gifts. Alex's school fees? Where will it come from?" Alex sat silently in the corner, his stomach twisting. He wanted to speak up, to say, "I'll go see her, I don't need gifts, I just want to see her smile again." But the words stuck in his throat. Pride, and fear of his own lies being exposed, kept him quiet. Days passed. Then, one night, something unexpected happened. Alex was walking home after basketball practice when he saw a crowd gathered near the Central Park. Curiosity pulled him closer. Through the circle of people, he spotted an old woman sitting hunched on a wooden bench. Her clothes were worn, her frail hands trembling as she clutched a small bag. At first, Alex didn't recognize her. But then his eyes froze. His breath caught. It was her. His grandmother. Her face looked thinner than he remembered, her eyes clouded with exhaustion. She looked so small, so fragile, like a leaf about to be blown away by the wind. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't cooking mac and cheese. She wasn't telling stories. She was just surviving. Alex's chest tightened as he heard whispers from the crowd. "That's Grandma Elena, poor woman. She's been seen here a lot lately. They say she doesn't have enough food at home. Imagine, at her age, sitting here like this." Shame hit Alex like a storm. All the lies he had told, all the stories he had spun about her warmth and care, came crashing down in one brutal moment. His grandma looked up briefly, her tired eyes scanning the crowd. For a flicker of a second, their eyes met. But she didn't recognize him. She just lowered her head again, lost in her own quiet despair. Alex's knees trembled. His throat burned. He wanted to run to her, to fall at her feet, to beg forgiveness. But fear froze him in place. Fear of admitting the truth. Fear of facing her eyes when she realized how easily he had forgotten her. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. The image of his grandmother on that cold bench haunted him. His lies no longer felt harmless, they felt poisonous. He realized he hadn't just lied to his friends. He had lied to himself. He had lied to the one person who loved him unconditionally. And now, he had to make a choice. Would he keep running from the truth? Or would he finally gather the courage to step forward, to face the grandmother who had given him everything, and whom he had abandoned? The next morning, Alex sat at the breakfast table, staring at his untouched plate of toast and eggs. His parents noticed his silence. "Alex, are you feeling sick?" his mother asked. He shook his head quickly. "No, I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. He was drowning in guilt. All through school, his mind replayed the image of his grandmother, fragile, shivering, alone on that park bench. Each time he tried to focus on his lessons, her weary eyes appeared before him, and his chest tightened. By the time the last bell rang, Alex had made a decision. He couldn't live with this secret any longer. He would go to her. He ran through the crowded streets, weaving between vendors and cars until he reached the park. His heart hammered as he scanned the benches. And there she was, just as before. Sitting quietly, her thin shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. Alex's throat closed up. His legs felt heavy, but he forced himself forward. Slowly, he walked up to her. "Grandma," his voice cracked. The old woman lifted her head, her tired eyes focusing on him. For a moment, she didn't recognize him. But then, slowly, her lips parted. "Alex." Tears welled in his eyes. He fell to his knees beside her, clutching her frail hands. "Grandma, I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have come. I should have been with you. I lied. I told everyone I saw you all the time, but I didn't. I was ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know how poor we are. But it was wrong. I was wrong." Her wrinkled hands trembled in his grip. She studied his face with a mixture of sadness and love. "My boy," she said softly. "Do you think I care about mac and cheese or gifts? I only wanted you. Just you." Alex broke down, pressing his forehead against her lap. The dam of guilt burst, and sobs shook his small frame. "I saw you here, Grandma, on this bench. You looked so tired. How could I have stayed away? How could I have lied about you?" She stroked his hair gently, the way she used to when he was little. "People can live without riches, Alex. But they cannot live without love. You forgot me for a while, but you've remembered now. That is what matters." Her words cut deep into his heart, both comforting and crushing him at the same time. He promised her then and there, through broken sobs, that he would never leave her side again. Alex helped his grandmother stand. "Come with me, Grandma," he said firmly. "I won't let you sit here again. You'll live with us." But she shook her head gently. "Your parents already carry too many burdens. I cannot add to their weight." Alex looked at her, his jaw tightening. "Then I'll carry the weight. You're my grandmother. You've carried me with your love my whole life. Now it's my turn." For the first time in months, a faint smile touched her lips. Alex held her hand as they walked together out of the park. The setting sun painted the sky with hues of gold and crimson, and though the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear: Alex would no longer lie, and he would no longer abandon the woman who had given him everything. This was his chance to make things right. Alex led his grandmother back through the crowded lanes, his small hand gripping hers tightly, as though afraid she might slip away if he let go. Every step felt heavy with the weight of his guilt, but also lighter with the relief of finally doing what was right. When they reached his home, Alex hesitated at the doorway. His parents were inside, unaware of the secret he had been carrying all these months. His chest tightened. What would they say? Would they be angry at him? Would they blame him for hiding the truth? But one look at his grandmother's tired face erased his fear. He straightened his back, held her hand firmly, and stepped inside. "Mom! Dad!" he called out. His mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. When she saw who stood beside him, her eyes widened. "Grandma," she whispered. Alex's grandmother lowered her gaze, ashamed. "I didn't want to bother you," she murmured. Alex's father stepped into the room, his expression stern but shaken. He looked from his son to the frail woman at the door. "Why didn't you tell us you were struggling like this, Grandma?" Tears filled the old woman's eyes. "I didn't want to burden anyone." Before his parents could say more, Alex stepped forward. His voice trembled, but he spoke with determination. "It's not her fault. It's mine. I lied. I told everyone I visited her, but I didn't. I wanted my friends to think I was good, that I cared. But in truth, I ignored her. I thought school and my own life were more important. I was wrong." Silence filled the room. His parents looked at each other, then at Alex, then at his grandmother. Finally, his mother rushed forward, embracing the old woman with tears streaming down her cheeks. "You are never a burden, Grandma. Never." His father's eyes softened as he placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "You made a mistake, son. But you admitted it. That takes courage. What matters now is what you do next." That night, for the first time in months, Alex's grandmother sat at the family dinner table. The warm light of the home wrapped around her as plates of food were shared, laughter echoed, and the loneliness that had haunted her began to fade. Alex sat close to her, refusing to let her cup go empty or her plate stay bare. Each time she smiled, it filled the cracks in his heart. He realized then that love was not measured in grand gestures or lies told to impress others. Love was in the small acts, the visit, the hand held, the meal shared, the presence beside someone who needed you. Days turned into weeks. Alex visited his grandmother every day after school. He read to her, walked with her, and listened to her stories of the past, stories he once found boring but now cherished like hidden treasures. One Sunday afternoon, while sitting in the park where he had once seen her so alone, Alex turned to her and said, "Grandma, I promise, no matter how busy I get, I will never let you sit here by yourself again. I'll always be here." Her eyes glistened as she touched his cheek. "That's all I ever wanted, my boy. Just you." Years later, when Alex grew older, he often thought back to that night, when his lie was shattered by the truth of a lonely woman on a cold bench. It became the turning point of his life, teaching him that honesty and love were worth more than pride and excuses. And every time he saw his grandmother smile, he knew he had been given a second chance, one he would never waste again.